the coaching by both Coach Griffin and Dylan in youth football, but that had just ended. It was Dylan's season had just ended, and when Griffin passed away, and so then, as I said, my mom, she had prior to Griffin passing away, though, it was a Mother's Day, actually the day after Mother's Day that very year, she found out she had stage 4 uterine cancer. And so she survived just a lethal surgery where they removed a lot. And so she somehow survived that, only to 8 months later pass away. And so there was kind of a rough time there where for me it felt like everybody was going, nobody was coming.
Yeah.
And so I that led me to a serious bout of depression, to the point where in August of 2015 I actually shot myself and in the head, underneath the chin, and with the intention of not being here. And so as I look back now, everything I didn't have to live for, I now have to live for. And so it was just a period of time where life was tough, and it was, once you get down, what my experience is, once I got down that low, it didn't feel like it was ever going to end, and unless I ended it.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Bare Truth. This is actually the debut episode. Last week, we ran our kind of run-through rehearsal episode. Got a lot of fantastic comments. So I'm going to say that this is the very first one. What do you think about that, Danny Shimon?
Hey, the other one, the run-through one was pretty fun to do. So I'm sure these are going to be even more fun now as we break down into some more tape. And also now we're getting into the regular season, guys. We're coming into the last weekend without any NFL football. So it's time to be excited. College started tonight with a big lineup. So football's here, guys. It's back. It's ready to go.
I tell you, I've been a busy little bee today. 3 other shows in the morning, Mike North. In the afternoon or late morning, Greg Gabriel Talks Football, which was both of those were fun. And Greg offered me such a great story. I got to tell you, I can't tell you on camera though.
Oh boy.
So and then after that, the Parisi brothers did their crosstown crosstalks. I've had such a fun day, but I gotta admit, this is the show I've been most looking forward to. Why? Because I love tape study. I learned so much from you and from Greg about the game of football. I've always been a student of it, and I just love doing this. So we're going to look at a handful of plays that you've selected. I've selected 1 or 2. And also, we're going to talk about the press conference, which I know you've done some tape review of that too, right?
Seriously, it's like, and now I know why Ryan Pace only comes out twice a year. It's like every time he comes out, he says some things that are just, you put your, it's like put your hand in your face. You're like, what are you talking about? It makes no sense. And then Matt Nagy, follows that up with a live performance today that was also, one for the record books too. But I'm telling you, these guys, I like them as people, but it's, Ryan Pace has done some solid moves in terms of free agents and draft picks. Of course, he's missed as well. All GMs, missed too. But man, when he talks, it's just, we'll get into it. We'll break it down.
Well, let's start breaking it down with this soundbite that he talked about. He being Bears general manager Ryan Pace, talking about the entire squad and the depth.
This is one of the hardest cuts we've had, you know. And I go back to kind of what I'm excited about. It starts with our coaching staff. Really excited about the coaching staff, but just the talent we've naturally built throughout. And I was just talking to scouts about that as we were looking at some of these guys we could claim. And you know, it's kind of nice in the past. You look out there and we're talking about claiming 5, 6 guys, and we weren't in that position this year. And I think it's because we've built up talent throughout our team, a lot of depth throughout our team, a lot of competition throughout our team. So, you know, inevitably when injuries occur, anything happens, I feel like we're ready for that this season.
What do you think about that, Danny? I mean, you've looked at the 53-man roster. I'm going to get it up on the screen here in a second, but do you think that this is one of the Bears teams under Ryan Pace that has the most depth?
No, I don't. I mean, there are some areas in the team that I like the depth, like starting off at quarterback. I think, you know, you got the promising young rookie. You got the veterans in Dalton and Foles. So I think you're covered there. The running back depth I talked about is some of the best I've seen in recent memory. But offensive line, man. You talk about you got a guy coming off of a fishing boat, Jason Peters, starting at left tackle for you. Not looking too good in his own action. Again, it's only a preseason. He hasn't gone through a whole training camp and OTAs, all that stuff. So we'll give him some time there. But I mean, Jermaine Ifedi looks horrible at tackle. Your backups. You got Simmons, the kid who has his moments, but also gets beaten a lot. I don't see the depth there at any offensive line. Defensive line, I know they kept Kairos Tonga on the roster. As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of that kid. I thought he was more of a practice squad player for me. So the depth behind Eddie Goldman for me is still a question mark. The linebackers, inside linebacker, I think they solidified. They went with 7 guys. Then we know why they had 7 guys, because Trevathan was going to end up going on IR. But Alec Ogletree had a solid training camp, but we have to see him do it, in live preseason game, live regular season games, and see how he can, he was on the street for a reason, guys, during the start of training camp. So we'll see how he holds up there. But, the depth behind Roquan Smith, that's something. Christian Jones did not impress me in the preseason. I know he made the roster. He's a veteran. He's been around. He's solid on special teams. But he's even that last game against Tennessee, there's times where his reaction was just a split second too slow. I believe he's a 12 or 13-year veteran now, Jones, that is. So this is a kid that is, because he's not a kid anymore. He's a veteran, grizzled veteran, NFL linebacker, and Iggy played his best game in my opinion this past game, and so he showed like he was a guy out there looking to secure a roster spot, and he was playing. I mean, he was filling gaps with physicality, and I had not seen him play that way up until now in his Bear career. Josh Woods is a special teams guy, so that depth there inside linebacker is something I question right now, right? So I can go up in that cornerback, right? Mm-hmm. You guys are bringing back guys like Artie Burns, who former first round pick, so he's got the physical prowess to play corner. I like his physicality out on the island there. He gets physical with receivers. I like the way he swipes through the football, breaks it up, but his lateral agility, his quickness is not there for me. For me, he looks like he struggles staying in phase downfield. So, that's a question mark there. So if God forbid one of your 2 starting corners go down, and Jalen Johnson or Kendall Vildor, you're going to be struggling. They're going to be hurting their cornerback, in my opinion. So I don't know where he's talking about in terms of depth. They're, like I said, solid. Some positions I see the depth and I like it. Some have me concerned.
A couple of guys are challenging your take on Tonga, just like Neil Stopchinski did on the Draft on Tap show that we did last season. J-Rock says, did he just say Tonga was a practice squad player? And then Alex Sims adds to that, Tonga looked great in preseason first time. I'm going to disagree with you, Danny. What do you say to those people who are looking at Tonga playing against second and third stringers and thinking that perhaps he can play against first stringers in the NFL?
Yeah, see, for me, even at BYU, Tonga was a guy that was built as a big, brute, strong, run stopper. But there's a lot of times he was getting blown off the football by single blocking, right? Double teams, triple teams, okay, that's one thing. But single blocker was able to drive him, 3 or 4 or 5, yards off the football. And that's something that Neil and I went back and forth on during the draft process. And I just don't like his physicality at the line of scrimmage. You're supposed to be a 2-gap, offensive line eating nose guard, and nose tackle, and you're a guy that's supposed to maintain your ground. And I just saw him a lot of times, getting blown off the football. There's, Jim Miller for some reason loves Tonga, because every time he would compliment him, I'd see the replay, and Tonga's on his knees or on his belly because he's been chop blocked, and he's not, he can't get off a block. So for me, he's not giving you anything in terms of a pass rush, right? We know that for sure. As opposed to Eddie Goldman, who can still collapse the pocket at nose guard or nose tackle. But for me, Tonga is a guy, practice squad player, a guy you can develop, possibly, get him in there, make him more stout at the point of contact. But for me, he's got a ways to go. If Eddie Goldman goes out and you're putting in Tonga in there, I think the Bears defense is going to be hurting up the middle. That's my opinion.
He is currently on the 53-man roster, as we see up in the upper right-hand corner. The Bears currently have 5 interior defensive linemen, Angelo Blackson, Eddie Goldman, Akeem Hicks, Bilal Nichols, and Carice Tonga. I've got a feeling that Tonga is still on the roster because there are some issues regarding Akeem Hicks's contract, and I also believe that they've still got a couple of spots open on the practice squad, and Tonga might be heading there. And I doubt anyone is going to reach and take Tonga on waivers, just simply because at this point of the season, coaches are much more enamored with the young players they have on their roster, and are hesitant to bring in somebody, especially a young guy, and teach him a whole new culture, a new playbook, and so forth. So we'll see what happens with the defensive linemen. But I hear what you're saying. I hope you're wrong, and I know you hope you're wrong. But that's the feeling on Tonga right now. Let's listen to Ryan Pace now talk about another issue that you have had with his player evaluation, and that is Tevin Jenkins. While you like Tevin Jenkins a lot at the right tackle position, you've been concerned about him playing the left tackle, and also Larry Barroom playing the left tackle. Well, at the press conference on yesterday, on Wednesday, Pace said that those guys were actually evaluated very closely.
No, we had them graded close. We did, and I think, Larry played, he's lost a lot of weight since he played at Missouri. So now what I think you're seeing is a guy with a former basketball background, really athletic feet, playing almost 40 pounds lighter than he played in college and moving a lot better. So he's extremely talented. So to be honest, he probably has exceeded expectations a little bit, because he looks so athletic with that weight loss. And then I think he's shown his two mark that he can play on either side, which is only going to pay off going forward.
So if Peters has issues, conditioning, whatever, is Barroom a legitimate candidate to start?
Yeah, he's legitimate. We like him. We like where he's at.
Almost feels like he's saying that because they really don't have any other choice. So they got to make it sound good. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I just, if he has Tevin Jenkins and Larry Barroom with similar grades, then I don't know. I see it totally differently. For me, Barroom for me was more of a guard. I do agree with Pace in terms of he lost the weight. He does have that basketball background. He does look lighter, more athletic. So I think that's why they're a little bit more confident in terms of him being able to handle that speed off the edge, being able to move his feet, shuttle, get to his set spots quickly. But I mean, this guy is still a work in progress, and there's no way I'm going to feel confident putting Larry Barroom at left tackle. I was more confident putting Tevin Jenkins at left tackle, which, as you stated earlier, I wasn't a big fan of. But to put Larry Barroom right there at left tackle right now is an unproven commodity, especially if you're protecting a Justin Fields, your future franchise quarterback. That's going to scare the hell out of me. But I mean, we've seen a couple of times right now with just versus second and third stringers, Barroom at left tackle, and he's getting pushed back right into the quarterback's lap. So imagine if he goes up against the top defensive ends in football right now. So I just don't want to see that happen, especially with Justin Fields back there.
You mentioned the cornerback position, and there's a lot of talk in the chat room about that. Currently, there are 6 cornerbacks: Artie Burns, Marquis Christian, Xavier Crawford, Jalen Johnson, Duke Shelley, Kendall Vildor. At today's press conference, Tashawn Gibson said that Jalen Johnson is on the precipice of becoming a really one of the best cornerbacks in the business. He just feels that in his gut. And yesterday, Ryan Pace was asked about that slot cornerback position. And of course, Pace was selling it. He felt like there's been some good work there and that there shouldn't be any concern.
That's been a a steady competition throughout. So and they're different. You know, I was just talking to Coach Desai about that as we kind of work through it. They're different. You know, Duke to me is scrappy, tough, instinctive. Marquis athletic and versatile. He can play safety too. So they're kind of different flavors, and maybe there's scenarios where we can use all of them. You know, so I think it's been a good competition. It's made them both better. And I think the good thing about with our defensive coordinator, I think we'll put those guys in advantageous positions.
Interesting, Danny, that he was talking about Marquise Christian,
Yes,
and Duke Shelley as being the only slot corners competing for position. That's what I got out of that.
yeah, and Marquis Christian really surprised me with the way he played this past game. He was listed as a safety with the Bears, and you know, he was coming down and covering that slot, and yeah, he might not have the lateral agility, the quick twitch quickness that you like to have in those slot corners, but he gives you some size, gives you some length, and he brings you toughness. And I love the way he plays around the line of scrimmage. So, you know, with the slot corners, these are guys that are going to be asked to, obviously, to cover, but they're also going to be asked to blitz, also going to be able to, you know, have to be active in the run defense. And I think Christian really showed some of that physicality around that line of scrimmage against Tennessee, and it really, really impressed me. So, you know, if he can match up against, you know, tight ends in the slot, or if he can go up against some of those bigger receivers, you know, a lot of the craze now with the NFL is line up these bigger receivers like Allen Robinson, or when he was playing Larry Fitzgerald in the slot, and trying to get them lined up against smaller cornerbacks and just use their size, you know, to make quick plays, make quick first downs. You know, a guy like Marquise Christian can come in there and do that. Now, is he going to be mismatched against those, you know, smaller, more shiftier receivers? Yeah, that's when they'll probably see the personnel matchup and match up via personnel, and bring in maybe a Duke Shelley versus those quicker, shiftier, you know, receivers, if that team is playing, you know, that type of player in the slot. But if they bring in a more bigger physical, either, you know, Z receiver, wide receiver, whatever, and then or a tight end, you can bring in a Christian. So I think they give you that kind of versatility. So Marquis Christian really did catch my eye this preseason.
Well, Alex Sims has a question regarding the right tackle, Tyrell Crosby.
No, that guy was talk about, you know, getting, you know, windburn from all these, you know, pass rushers going right by him in the preseason. Plus, I think he's injured as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's got a hamstring injury, correct?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that was highly touted coming out of Oregon. A guy that played left tackle and right tackle. He was predominantly a right tackle with Detroit. I know they switched him over a couple of times at left tackle, but he's a guy that I have no interest in bringing in him. I'm telling you, I told you last show and a couple of shows before, like Elijah Wilkinson, I think, you know, again, he's not perfect in terms of left tackle, but if you do lose a guy like, you know, Jason Peters for a little bit of time, I would definitely bring in Wilkinson as opposed to a guy like Cosby.
Now, a lot of talk in the chat about Bryce Callahan. The word is that the Broncos are listening to trade offers, and that Chicago is apparently one of the teams that's called to inquire. I personally think that's BS. I think that is somebody that told the Denver media about that to create interest. I don't think anybody is going to make a trade for Bryce Callahan because he's probably going to be cut.
Probably going to be cut. He's got I believe he signed a pretty big contract as a free agent with the Broncos. So you're talking about a guy trading for a sizable contract, not a huge contract, but a guy that I love. Bryce Callahan as a player, you know, terrific slot corner, toughness, everything you want. But his issues were staying healthy. And I think that was one of the problems he had with Denver, was also staying healthy. So I think that typically you're right. Although when you hear trade rumors to all these teams and all this stuff, eventually you'll see the player going to end up getting cut, and then, you know, the Bears can then pounce on him as a free agent. So, but yeah, definitely, I would definitely be interested in reuniting with Bryce Callahan. I just not sure if that price is something you want to bring in on a team that's already up against a limit with the salary cap, and a player that, while he's productive when he's on the field, has trouble staying on the field and being healthy.
Yeah, and this morning show with Greg Gabriel, we talked a little bit about Bryce Callahan, and Greg was so funny. he said, I don't want to say what I think he is because of political correction, because I'll get in trouble for it. And I asked him, does it rhyme with mussy? And he started laughing. Apparently, he doesn't think that Callahan it does very well standing up to the punishment of the NFL. He likes his cornerbacks a little bigger than guys like Bryce Callahan and Duke Shelley, who he has been critical of.
It's interesting because I think Callahan brings that tough. Now, he's not a big body, corner. He's one of the diminutive corner. Like I said, does a good job of staying in phase with these, quicker, shiftier slot receivers. So I think he brought some toughness when he played. I mean, he was always there in terms of his run defense. Now, I don't know if Greg's referring to, in terms of him coming back from injury sooner or maybe, not playing through an injury. I'm not sure that's what you're referring to. But in terms of on the field, I mean, I never saw him back down from a challenge in terms of going at a running back or trying to go in for a tackle. But again, for me, his thing is trying to stay on the field and stay healthy.
One of the things that was talked about in today's press conference with Matt Nagy, and I played this for you before we came out here. Audible Andy is how I labeled the cut. This is Matt Nagy being asked if Andy Dalton will have audible capabilities week 1 against the Rams.
Los Angeles.
I would say that, yeah, he's at a point where if he sees something, we actually had a situation today in the walkthrough where he took a play and we did something on that play, and then he wanted to run it back because he personally, without telling us, he wanted to get another look at it with a different defensive look. And so, that's an advantage that a veteran quarterback does. He sees defenses, he recognizes it. So I would say, yeah, if he has the ability within our system to do it, he absolutely can do that.
If he has, first he goes, yes, he could do that. He's a veteran and he's seen all these defenses and he runs on about blah, 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 all this stuff that he could do. But if he has the ability in our system to do it, he can do that. So does he have the ability in your system to call an audible, man? Like, just answer the damn question. I don't know if this is some sort of competitive thing where he doesn't want to give too much information to the opposing, defensive coordinator. So, we have to wait till we, until real late before we check into a different defense or we disguise our coverages because Andy Dalton has audible privileges. Dude, just come out and say it. Can he call audibles? Does he have the right to auto play? I just don't understand why it's always just, it's like pulling teeth and it just trying to read through the weeds and it says one thing and then all of a sudden by the time he's done with the sentence, it's a whole different meaning. It's like, at this time now, I'm just kind of like done with it. And that's why I let you do the press conferences. You cover them, you look at them, and then you bring them to me and you give them to me live, and then I just go off and you see this reaction.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. You have more fun in this job than I do looking at the tape and analyzing it. Alex wants to know what your thoughts are on Jimmy Moreland, the slot corner.
Yeah, Jimmy Moreland is a kid I was high on coming out of the draft. Another diminutive corner, but I think he'd be a nice slot fit. With the Bears here. I'm not sure what the issue was with the Washington football teams in terms of was it injuries or just production on the field. But I think Jimmy Moreland, when I saw him as a rookie, I think he was making some plays, covering those slot receivers. So he's a guy that I'm surprised got on, has still out there on sign as of last I checked. So that's a guy I thought the Bears might have some interest in when I saw he was on the waiver wire.
Mm-hmm. J-Rock, we're going to get to your question about Travis Gibson in just a little while. I want to play a couple more sound bites from the press conference, and then we'll get into our tape evaluation. And one of the clips that Danny has for us is about Gibson, so he'll talk about him at length then. But first, I want to ask Danny about what does the loss of Danny Trevathan mean to this defense? And do you think that Alec Ogletree will be a suitable replacement for him? And before you answer that, let me play this soundbite from Coach Nagy talking about Ogletree.
When Alec came in here, I mean, you guys remember he had like 7 picks in 3 days, and he took advantage of an opportunity. He's moved around really well. He's taken to the defense. And so I think you see that and you understand that that we appreciate that from him, and he took advantage of a great opportunity. With Danny, for us, it's being able to get him. We want to get him to a point to where he can get back to that full 100%. And you saw he missed some time there in training camp. It was good to be able to get him out there in that last preseason game and see what he can do. So
couldn't run after that interception. We'll see that clip.
Right. Right. That's the thing. And that's the thing that you get with Trevathan is you get that ability to be able to cover, drop back in coverage. And if you watch that play over again, it's a nice way of him reading his keys, identifying the play, knowing what was going on, and seeing where Barkley was reading the quarterback's eyes and just dropping back to a point where he can go and get in front of that football and intercept it. Now, the funny thing is, if he hadn't picked it off, I think DHC, what it was, Houston Carson was back there. He was waiting to get his second pick his second red zone pick of the preseason. So either way, it was going to be a turnover for the Bears. But that's what you missed there. You missed the leadership with him. I think Ogletree would be fine in terms of being that physical presence and next to Roquan Smith, but that sideline ability. And I know Trevathan last year was a little bit slowed down in terms of his ability to get from sideline to sideline. But this game so far, we saw him. He looked pretty good, and he was playing with apparently an injury too, because I think he came in with an injury and it just kind of got worse. And they figured, let's go ahead and just put him on IR, get it fixed, and then get him back. 3 weeks at least into the season. So I think he will be missed. Like I said earlier, the depth in the middle linebacker is not great. Ogletree had a good camp and good preseason. And it's funny because his knock, at least for me, on Ogletree is his coverage ability. A couple of times we saw him get lost in coverage versus Buffalo, and the Miami game, I should say. And so, but in the practices, he had 7 interceptions. I think they just kind of referred to there.
7, yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's where I think where the Bears are going to kind of be a little bit shorthanded there with his ability to go ahead and drop back. Now, will they go ahead and put in an extra safety like a DeAndre Houston Carson on certain passing situations and pull an Ogletree? Give them a little bit more coverage. We'll see how they go ahead and design that and kind of work around the Trevathan injury.
Mm-hmm. A lot of speculation. There was a comment here in the chat room about Ravi asked, Woods or Iggy don't need to start. But that's not a question. That's a statement. I think we both agree with that, right?
Right. But if you have injuries in football, remember, any given play, you could lose a starter. And if press into service, like right now, for example, I don't think that all these linebackers are going to be active on game day. But if you go with 4, I'm assuming it's going to be Christian Jones and Alec Ogletree, and then in one of the two, either Iggy or Josh Woods, because I don't think they're going to go ahead and put a Caleb Jones in there right now. Caleb Johnson in there right now, even though I do like his ability in terms of projecting him down the road as being a nice, solid producer, both on special teams and potentially on defense. But like I said, Christian Jones to me has lost a step. I'm not confident with putting him there and as a linebacker. I know he's the backup to Roquan currently. So we'll see how the combination of Ogletree and Smith play. But one injury, God forbid, you're putting in Iggy or you're putting in Josh Woods.
Looking back, because there's talk and lots of talk in the chat room about Trevathan potentially being done. Brad Biggs reported something about maybe the Bears were thinking about cutting him and so forth. Do you think that the Bears and Ryan Pace made a mistake in signing Danny Trevathan over Nick Kwiatkowski?
That's a good question. Kwiatkowski had a great season that last year with the Bears, and ended up parlaying that into a nice contract with the Raiders. So he hasn't really taken that next step with the Raiders, from what I've seen. Kwiatkowski, and again, could it be the scheme? Could be how are they utilizing him, that scheme? Las Vegas injuries as well. But I think Trevathan was such a big leader, a big voice in that locker room, and him along with Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack, I think that's one of the reasons why they were attracted to just keeping him on this roster, keeping him on the team. I mean, they knew eventually he was getting up there in age. He's an undersized linebacker. Remember, he came in as a guy that just ran balls to the wall, ran from sideline to sideline, made plays left and right with the Denver Broncos, and earned that toughness and that recognition and that contract with the Bears. So I think he's a solid player. Again, we don't know how badly injured he was last year. We don't know in terms of, he didn't have an offseason last year, how much that affected him, his conditioning also. It looked like he came in camp this year in great shape. And, the one game we saw him play in, he looked like he was making, some progress there and looking like not fully back to the previous, Danny Trevathan that we've seen, but something similar to a guy that was going to end up, being a real good, solid contributor at inside linebacker for the Bears.
Yep. All right. I think it is time to start our tape review. I hear the cheers all across America and around the world. And thank you, everyone that saw episode number 1 last week. The reviews on it, which I used for a little ad promoting the show, were outstanding. And there were so many positive comments. I could only fit 4 or 5 in our 30-second commercial, but it was really, really very nice for everyone to comment positively about what Danny did last week, and I had a small role just pushing a button here or there. So
no, you're the mastermind behind this whole thing.
All right. First play, we're going to go to the first quarter, about 13:51 into the game. This is, look at the highlight that I put there, Danny. What do you think of that?
Fancy. Look at that.
Look at that.
I feel like Matt Bowen on NFL Matchup right here. You play the part of Greg Cosell.
That was like a little Puerto Rican job that I figured out, hey, maybe I could do it this way. And it actually looks pretty decent.
There
so
we
anyway,
go.
Take it away from here, brother.
So obviously we're highlighting Travis Gibson here. I thought had a tremendous game versus the Titans. I think this is a kid that we've seen that jump already from year 1 to year 2 here in the defense. And I'm really excited, guys, about this guy's potential. Here, he's standing up in a 2-point stance, rushing from the outside as an outside linebacker. And just look at it. First of all, look at first step quickness. Gets off the line of scrimmage. Again, he's going up against a backup tackle, but still, you see his length here. He's going to go ahead and dip that shoulder, get underneath that pads of the offensive tackle, show some of that body lean that goes to be able to bend that edge, go around the corner. And it's got those long arms that he goes in and he can affect the quarterback. We'll see a couple different plays later on, but see, he reaches there, kind of makes the quarterback feel a little bit of pressure. Then he makes him step up into the big boys there with the defensive tackles getting there in front of the quarterback's face. And that doesn't go as a sack for Gibson, but that goes as a solid play. He affected that play there because he made that quarterback feel him on the outside, step up into the pocket, right into his defensive lineman. And the one thing I want to see there is Eddie Goldman there. He's bull rushing the guy right back into the quarterback. This is stuff we were talking about Tonga earlier. You don't see Tonga doing this, all the time. And Goldman just bulldozing that guy right back into the quarterback. Gibson gives him the pressure from the outside, makes the quarterback step up into the pocket, and there's Eddie Goldman, and I think that's on 63 there as well, providing some pressure there and just getting into the face. Again, doesn't go down as a sack, but that's an incomplete ball. That's a positive play for Travis Gibson.
Hey, Alex says that's Dylan Randuns, the kid from North Dakota State, if I recall correctly.
Yep,
so
he's not a bad tackle. That's him. He played left tackle at North Dakota State, but he can also play right tackle as well. So looks like they're flipping him back and forth because remember Tennessee has Taylor Wan, or not Taylor Wan. I forgot his name. Lewin is a left tackle, so he's got pretty solid left tackle. So they're probably flipping this kid over to the right side, and that's a one guy that I like. That's a guy I think the Bears could have waited at 52 or 53, whatever position they were, and not traded up to go get a Tevin Jenkins. Now, obviously, they had Jenkins rated higher on their boards than I did, but again, I was waiting there at my pick, saving the draft capital they gave up to move up to those spots, and waiting and getting a kid like Dylan Radunz that you could bring in and kind of develop. So yeah, for Radunz right now, it's a big step up competition, but he's a guy that's got the length, size, and the athletic ability to play either left or right side. And I like him more as a left tackle than a right tackle. We talked about last week in terms of guys switching from left to right, how the stance, the hand placement, all that stuff is a little different. So he did play some right tackle at North Dakota State, but he played predominantly left side, blocking for Trey Lance there. So you see there him if that's him right there, 72. He does struggle there with Gibson's length and speed, but he does also do an effective enough job of keeping the quarterback upright. But just Gibson does a great job of getting underneath, creating that pressure, making the quarterback step up in the pocket, and that's where the big boys were there to go and get in his face.
Nick points out that, and this was, I think, discussed at the press conference today with Nagy, that the Bears had the oldest average age in the league based on their 53-man roster. Is that a problem? And I got to say, and I think maybe this was in yesterday's press conference with Ryan Pace, but yeah, the 39-year-old Jason Peters might have weighed that. So it's not maybe a fair comparison.
You got Nick Foles, you got Andy Dalton, You got
exactly.
Alec Ogletree added to this roster. So I mean, Akeem Hicks is obviously up there in age. Javathan. So I mean, there are players here up in age, but that did surprise me when I saw that. But then that kind of makes sense if you think about the players that they just brought in. So, but I think the Bears have, especially on defense, I think they got some young players that really have a chance to ascend. And we just talked about Gibson right now. We touched on Marquis Christian earlier. There are some players, and I love Caleb Johnson. I that from the kid they got out of as an undrafted free agent who's on the active roster currently. So they got some young guys come up in the pipeline here. Also, I think Robert Quinn also adds to that age group average there. Bringing it up too. So it's something that I think that it did surprise me, but I'm really not that concerned about it.
Right. And I agree with Adeptus and Alex in the chat room regarding Sam Cosmi. I liked him coming out of Texas. And when I first saw that highlight of him catching a touchdown pass on an offensive lineman screen, of all things, I fell in love with him then, and he's definitely going to be a good one. All right, let's go to our next play here, Danny. This is the second and 4 play that you highlighted.
Right. This is so I went through all the game film and I wrote down the guys who impressed me, right? We touched on it. We touched on Marquis Christian, Travis Gibson, we touched on Iggy. There's another guy we can get to later on, but what really disappointed me was the play of the offensive line. And, we knew the tackles were going to be, struggling because Peters was his first live game action. Ifedi was coming off the injury, and even Ifedi wasn't great when he's healthy. But really disappointment was that interior of the offensive line. I thought the Bears had a solid foundation there with the combination of Whitehair, Mustipher, and whether it's Bars or James Daniels. But if you look at this play, I mean, they were getting blown off the football by like 2-3 yards. And there was one play, I don't think this is this one, but there's one where Cody Whitehair just literally just launched back into the backfield.
Yeah, that's coming up.
by the Titans defensive line. Now I know the Titans have a stout, aggressive front. But I mean, these guys are being manhandled, and we heard about Mustipher getting stronger, getting bigger in the offseason. Daniels coming off the injury, but still, I mean, these guys were just being pushed around, and that really disappointed me in terms of their play. So I'm not sure if it's, and there's a couple times where they were caught, pulling and slanting to the right, to the left in terms of the zone blocking, and the defensive lineman just caught them at the right angle and just kind of pushed them, way back and threw them off balance. But, that interior is what I've kind of hung my hat on in terms of, this is what's going to protect the quarterback in terms of give him a solid pocket to step up into if he's getting pressure from the outside. That's the combination that last year when they were put together, David Montgomery, we saw his season kind of take off in terms of his yardage and his ability to make big plays via the run game. So, seeing this really kind of, disappointed me big time. And I just hope this is just a aberration and it's not something that's going to carry into the regular season.
So this particular play is the Jason Peters play when he gets out to block the linebacker. He just whiffs on him, looks terrible. This is, again, the left tackle, Jason Peters, who is replacing Tevin Jenkins, who has never played left tackle in the NFL, who is replacing a 7th-round draft pick that everybody in Chicago hated. That's the Chicago Bears. Here's Peters.
Yeah, he gets out there second level, just really whiffs. It just looks like, he doesn't have a chance to maintain that second level block. There's a couple more times in the game that Peters gets out there and just really has a horrible job of just, trying to get to that second level run fit, maintaining that block. And that guy gets around him and actually gets into the play and actually affects the play. But the other thing is if you took a look at that interior of that offensive line, you see them that they're trying to go pull right here and they're just getting, being there at the point of attack. And they're just, the guys are in, defensive linemen for the Titans are in the backfield, 2-3 yards into the backfield. Look at James Allen's being ridden back there, 2-3 yards back. We're going backwards. So, that's not what you want to see if you're the Bears, if you're Juan Castillo. You want to see them be able to. Now, I know they're more of a finesse blocking unit than as opposed to rugged, power, gap, smash mouth kind of road grinders, but. You still want to be able to see it, get that angle, get their body in front of that defender, not getting knocked back 2-3 yards into the running. There was another play, I believe it might have been Whitehair, where he gets knocked back. Damian Williams has to go around Whitehair, just to get back to the line of scrimmage. So, and that's really affects the running game. So I don't care if you have Walter Payton back there, if you have no blocking up front, those defenders are going to get in there and they're going to take down a running back. So that was really discouraging for me because I really, like I said, I really had to pin my hopes on that interior of the offensive line being solid. Yeah, I mean, we're not saying they're all pros and they're going to go to Hall of Fame, but they were a solid unit last year and they worked well together. And not seeing that in the final preseason game was concerning for me.
J-Rock asked the question, should the Bears switch Whitehair and Daniels, move Daniels to a spot that he has proven that he's much more comfortable at, left guard, and Whitehair really hasn't played much right guard, but probably could. What do you think?
That's something that I would consider if this type of play continues into this regular season. Because remember, Daniels was playing left guard last year when he got injured, and I thought he was playing really well at the point when he got hurt. And then that's when they made the shift and they moved Whitehair over to left guard, and they put in Alex Barr as a right guard. So if Daniels continues to get struggle, if he's more familiar and more comfortable playing left guard, Whitehair can play any of those three interior positions, and we've seen him do it well in the past. So I wouldn't mind switching them over or flipping them over. But we saw last year when Whitehair was playing center, it took a long while for them to go ahead and push him out to left guard. It took actually an injury to James Daniels for him to go ahead and do that. So I don't know how willing they'll be to go ahead and flip him over. But if Daniels is more comfortable on the left side and he showed last year that he was developing into a pretty solid left guard, I would be all for that kind of move.
Right, because Cody Whitehair may not even be here next year, because next year the Bears have a potential out on his contract, and if they need to shave some dollars off the cap, then he's the more expendable of the two from a salary cap standpoint. So you really want to develop James Daniels. The other question that I have for you, that with the exception of Sam Mustipher, who everyone is criticizing for his lack of strength, but the other guys are strong efforts, right. Cody Whitehair, James Daniels, Alex Bars, these guys are super strong. So for them to get manhandled, what would you attribute that to? Is it lack of concentration? Is it because they're still learning the playbook, or what the hell is going on?
Well, they're all veterans. I don't think it's a playbook issue. I just think it's the way they're schemed, what they're asking to do for them at that point in that clip there. They were going in, they were slanting to the right, and the Titans were just bigger, more stronger at the point of attack, and they just went ahead and they took them back. A lot of times, it just is sometimes just your will to not be moved back. But I think here they just got them in terms of scheme. The defensive lineman got them to a point where they can get their angle on them, their leverage, and just kind of, as they're slanting, push them back and use their brute strength to get them off course there. And that was real disconcerting, because you have to, as an offensive lineman, you have to be able to beat that. You have to be able to get that leverage. And, you're slanting. You're not going straight at these guys because you're not a power gap team. You're slanting. You're trying to get that leverage, get your hand placement so you can turn and twist and just get in between you and that defender and give your running back a small crease or lane to be able to get upfield with. But, what they're doing here, they're just getting manhandled and just bullied backwards.
All right, I've got another bad play from the offensive line queued up here. It is coming up right here, number 74, the right tackle.
Yeah, this is horrible. I mean, this is just, you look at his set. I mean, he's all over the place. He's coming off, I believe it was a hip injury he was coming off. So, I mean, maybe it's just that he's still bothering him a little bit. But, I mean, look at his he's laid off the ball for my liking here. His hands are down. He's not protecting his chest. The defensive end goes in, whips his, whatever hand attempt or hand usage he tries to use there, just whips and goes right around him. Doesn't have the foot quickness or speed to get to his, his set spot, but just looked horrible. This is really something that we had not seen a lot of this last year towards the tail end of the season with the Fetty. He was playing more, I want to say solid right tackle. I don't want to give him that high of a grade, but
yeah, I agree.
He wasn't being like this. I mean, there was another play earlier. He was just the defender lineman had just one hand in his chest and just riding him back. So do you give him the benefit of doubt? Was he coming off an injury? Was he still not 100%? Is he not in game shape yet? All these questions you have to ask. But man, again, this is really disconcerting. Especially going up against Aaron Donald and them boys on Sunday night in what, 9 days, 10 days now. So that's something that you do not want to see if you're, Matt Nagy and the rest of that coaching staff. So, Elijah Shimons, you might want to well get yourself ready and get warmed up, because, if Fetty keeps playing like that, you may have to go in quicker than you anticipated. Yeah.
Robbie says that he wasn't using his hands punching.
No, he wasn't. Chest is wide open. Yeah.
But the one thing is, you want your hands up high, but I've learned from some offensive line coaches that you rarely want your guy to punch, because if you punch and miss, you are so off balance, you're going to get blown away. You have got to be successful with that punch or you're in trouble.
Well, yeah, no, what you want to do is you want to protect your chest. And if you see there, if you go back to that replay, you see his hands are down by his waist there. So his chest is wide open. He has no leverage in terms of being able to cut off that angle of that defensive end or the outside linebacker. His footwork is all over the place. Stops his feet, just really horrible technique all around. And for me, at least when I'm watching a right tackle play here. So, there was a reason why Seattle moved him inside the guard. And,
Yep.
But the plays like that are probably what they saw a lot of times, and that's why they said, let's get this guy off the island, let's get him inside and maybe get him protected a little bit. But as of right now, the Bears need him at right tackle, and this is we go back to Ryan Pace's comments earlier. The depth on this team, man. If this is your starting right tackle, I'm not sure what kind of depth you have there.
Yeah, we got some issues at the tackle position, and we might have 17 weeks of just swearing at Ryan Pace for failing to address it properly during the offseason, but hopefully we'll get some surprises. All right, this is your next clip, your inside linebacker on the left there.
Yeah, so this is Danny Trevathan here, and this is a play that I marked down as a miss here for Trevathan because it was a 2nd and 7. What he does for me here, or what he doesn't do here for me, he doesn't read his keys and identify that fullback is sneaking out. If you run the play, go ahead and see the fullback just he's going to run across the formation here. That's his guy. Sam Kamara is a 288-pound defensive lineman. He's not going to be able to run with that fullback. So that is Trevathan's man for me in this defensive alignment here. So he's got to be able to read his keys, see him, and then run with him, and then be able to go ahead and drop him for at least a loss or just a minimal gain. But here the fullback goes and gets a nice gain here. I think to 2nd and 7 to then 3rd and 1, which they convert easily on the next play. So this to me, it was something that Trevathan missed here. It's something that I like to see him clean up, but obviously now he's on IR for a couple of weeks, so we'll see how that happens when he comes back. But this to me was a negative play on defense.
All right, let's we're on a row here, man. Let's keep moving. You've picked so many clips, and when I first saw the list, I was like, oh my God, we're gonna have a 5-hour show. So let's try to make it 3 hours. All right, here is the other inside line.
Right. So this is Trevathan's interception.
Yes,
so this is where he does a great job of reading his keys. So we talked about it earlier, right? He's gonna read the quarterback there, he's got the play action, drops back. He knows the play. So if you go back there, there's 2 other guys there. So if it's not Trevathan, then the 2 other defensive backs, they're probably going to intercept that ball. So that's just a poorly thrown football by Barkley, and there's just a bad read. But a nice job here of reading and reacting by an inside linebacker, a veteran. And this is where I think the Bears are going to miss Trevathan, his ability to go ahead and drop back in coverage and make plays on the football.
And for all you young bloods out there, this is how Dick Butkus ran towards the end of his career. I am not kidding. I mean, look at how poorly he runs here. It's like he's laboring.
You can tell he's hurting right there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's when he said, all right, I need to wrap it up. Here's the end zone view.
Right. Again, the nice job reading, reacting, dropping back into coverage, just reading the quarterback's eyes and just getting into that passing lane and intercepting the football.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see what we got in the chat room. Danny picked him. He was just too slow to meet him at the line of scrimmage. Oh, that was the previous play, the fullback play. All right. Let us see what we got here in our treasure trove of clips. This one is, did I do that one already? No, this one here. All right. 2nd down and 10 was 7:53 in the first quarter.
So this is the one where I think it's the one where Peters misses that second level block again, and I think is this the one where Whitehair gets blown off the football as well?
Yes.
Let's take a look. Yep, there he goes.
Oh my God!
Gets right underneath his pad level, so that means he's not getting his pads down. The defensive lineman gets right into his pads levels and just knocks him 3 to 4 yards back into the backfield, and you see here alters the play here in terms of the running backs got to go around Whitehair's butt there just to get back to the line of scrimmage. So that's again getting blown off the football. That's not fun, guys. When you're sitting and watching this tape with your coaches and your teammates, and they play this play over and over again, like all those doing right now, it's not fun as a football player to show the stuff on tape. So, but that's something that hopefully Whitehair, a veteran who we know can play better, will clean up as the season starts, and we don't want to see that anymore.
Yeah, like Ravi just echoed what you said. You trust that a guy like Cody Whitehair is going to make the necessary corrections, and that won't be a problem moving forward. But I will say this about Cody Whitehair: I think that while I say he's a better, above average offensive lineman, there are those defects in his game where sometimes it looks like he just loses total concentration or whatever it is, and he gets blown away like that. Or when he was playing center, he does the horrible snaps, or there's just every once in a while there's a defect to his game that is just very, very noticeable. Right, which is why I think when it comes down to offensive linemen next season, if you've got to shave some salary, hopefully Bars, Daniels, they're ready to step in there, and Cody Whitehair could be gone after the season. But I wish him.
The thing with Whitehair is he's more of an athletic blocker to me than a power guy. So he relies on his athletic ability, being able to get out there, get those angles. For me, right there, his pad level was just way too high. The defender got lower than his in terms of his pad level, and was able to get into his chest and just bully him back 3 yards. And that's like I said, that is horrible. You don't want to see that on film. He is a veteran. Ravi is correct. He's a veteran that I do trust, and I think they'll clean it up. I don't want to overreact to preseason tape. It is preseason. These guys are veterans. These guys have played in the league for multiple years. So, we'll see how this goes into the regular season. But if that trend continues, that's an issue.
All right. Let us move now to a Justin Fields throw that you've highlighted for us.
Yeah, so this is the one where one of the things that I liked about Justin Fields coming out of Ohio State was his ability to alter his arm angle to be able to find a passing lane, a passing window. And I talk about it a lot was his background in baseball, playing second base and shortstop, the middle of the diamond, being able to turn those double plays and just being able to manipulate that arm angle. And that's something I do like in my quarterbacks, especially nowadays. But if you run it back real quick, I think you cut it off real quick. So basically, this is a pre-snap read. I wanted to show here real quick was defensively pre-snap what he's looking at. He sends Adams in motion, right? So and then the corner follows him. So that tells him right there that's man-to-man coverage. Mm-hmm. So right now he knows that they have 4 guys coming, possibly even a 5th guy. I think on the end zone angle, he points out the extra guy that's going to be coming. Eventually they're bringing a delay blitz. I think 6 guys come at him. So he knows he's got to get rid of the football. So what I like here is if you look at his arm angle, does a nice job of just finding that passing lane, kind of sidearming it and throwing it to Adams and kind of leading him to that first down for a nice completion there as well. So this is him progressing in his ability to read defenses, know what's coming, and being able to get rid of that ball quickly and finding that passing window by changing your arm angle and getting a first down. So this is some of the steps that I want to see him continue to do and get better at as the season progresses.
Yeah, and it seemed like the offensive line did a pretty good job of picking up eventually
6 guys come, and they were able to go ahead and pick up the extra blitzer.
Right. Those are the words I was looking for. All right, moving forward with our tape. We got another one queued up here. This one is also late in the first quarter, a couple of minutes left. We've highlighted the left end.
Yeah, this is Gibson again, coming off the edge like a madman. This time he's got his hands on the ground, so he's got the versatility of playing a 4-3 end or 3-4 outside linebacker. The guy tries to chop block him. He's able to maintain his balance, keep his feet, and continue down and flatten to the quarterback and provide that pressure. Now I believe this is a completion here for a first down, but Gibson obviously rushes that play, knocks the quarterback down, gets a quarterback hit for that. His effort there, but definitely a guy like I'm saying, this guy has really come on for me. Just in the preseason that I've watched him, I'm really liking. I'm excited about his potential here. He's got a little bit bigger, he's got a little bit stronger. We knew he had the physical traits, the arm length and the quickness off the line of scrimmage. There are some times as a run defender where he gets pinned inside and doesn't really set the edge, but he's getting better there as well. You see him physical at the point of attack. Being able to, draw. If you put a tight end on him, he does a good job of maintaining that, getting that guy off of him, securing that, setting that hard edge, and being able to funnel that running back into his big boys. So definitely a kid that I keep an eye on. I hope he gets more and more playing time, especially if we see Robert Quinn continue to struggle like he did last year. I would love to just throw Gibson in there and see what he can do.
Ravi says we don't discuss mechanics as much because Fields can do much like Danny said in regards to arm angles. Mitch worked on his mechanics for years, but he didn't have the type of touch and arm angles that Fields does. You agree with that?
Yeah, in terms of Mitch, he just didn't have the feel as a passer. He had a strong arm. He was athletic, but he didn't have the feel in terms of being able to drop that ball to a spot, leave his receiver open. I always talked about feathering that ball between the second and third level of defense. Even downfield. When you're going for those big bomb plays, it was either short, it was overthrown. It was way out of the area in which the receiver can make a play on. With Fields, we saw that early on in his career at Ohio State. His ability to just throw nice, deep balls accurately with touch. And now the rest of it is coming along as well here. And that once this kid is confident in terms of reading defenses pre and post snap, and gets out there and starts making some plays, I think it's just a matter of time before he gets out there and starts making some plays and taking over this leadership role on this football team.
Let's hope it is soon. Can't wait.
This is a kid I'm really high on. It's Sam Kamara, who was released but brought back to the practice squad, but undrafted free agent. This is a 6'2", 288-pound kid coming off the edge out of a 2-point stance. The reason I highlighted this is because he caught my attention is his quickness off the snap and his hand usage to be able to be physical with that offensive lineman, swipe down, get past him, and watch him just bury the quarterback. Obviously the ball was incomplete, so he affected the play. But for a guy that size, with that quickness, really, really intrigues me. Now, again, at 288, I'm not sure what the Bears' plan is for this kid. Are they going to get him to slim down and make him a permanent outside linebacker? Are they going to put some weight on him and put him as a hand-in-the-ground defensive lineman? But I'm telling you, when you put him as a hand-in-the-ground defensive lineman, he has a ways to go in terms of maintaining his stance or his feet and being able to hold his ground, because he's just not there yet. But that twitchiness for a guy that big, with that size, that's impressive. And I just want to know, what is their plan with Sam Kamara? What are they going to drop his weight? Are they going to increase his weight? Do they see him as a permanent outside linebacker? Because I'm telling you, those kind of clips, those excite me for a guy that big with that kind of twitchiness.
You picked out this play by Joel Iyiegbuniwe. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this is probably the best game I've seen him play in a Bears uniform. I mean, you talk about him reading and reacting, bringing a physical presence in the middle of that defense there. You see there right there, he saw the play, he read it, diagnosed it, and just took a nice angle, came up with a physical run fit, fills that hole physically, and just brings a pop and drops that running back into the backfield. So we had not seen Iggy make these kind of plays in previous preseason games. He's predominantly been labeled a special teams guy because of his athletic ability, but it's another guy. I remember Aldo at the practice, I said, he looked bigger. He looked looked stronger. Yep. Just like we talked about Gibson, put on some nice solid weight. And I think if this is the Iggy that we're going to see play if he's given a chance to play on defense, that's something he can hang his hat on. Is this game here? He showed the ability to go ahead and read, react, and fill with aggression.
One of the things they liked about Iggy when he came out of the college was that quickness. And here you see him beat the tight end who was supposed to come out to the second level.
Right. It's all reading, reacting, seeing what the play is, and picking that angle and filling that hole physically. And then not just getting there, but also, bringing down the running back. A lot of times you see linebackers get there and get bowled over or get pushed off the football with broken tackles. But no, he just got there, and it was multiple plays that Iggy did the same thing. Got there with some physicality. He was popping pads, which you like seeing your middle linebackers fill physically in those run fits. So same thing with Christian. He was doing that, coming down from the corner or safety position, whichever one he was playing. Definitely like the way he showed off this game.
All right, here we are in the second quarter on a 3rd and 11 play.
Yeah, this is going to be called the Trey Roberson, pick six, but this is all Travis Gibson. Again, gets off the line of scrimmage. If you go back and you kind of slow it at the snap, you see as the first guy off the line of scrimmage. That talk about that first quick step off the line, off the football there. Does a nice job of getting upfield. Again, using the up under rip move to get underneath the pad level of the offensive lineman. Gets right underneath them, shows the ability to go ahead and bend that edge, bend that corner, and flatten to the quarterback, affecting that throw. Obviously, hits the back arm of the quarterback, and that goes right into Trey Robinson's arms, and for easy pick six. But this was all Gibson here. His ability to get off that edge with that quick first step, bend the corner, flatten to the quarterback, and affect the pass. We saw him do it. Now I've just showed you what 3 or 4 plays here. He was continuously doing this over and over again. Again, you don't want to get too hyped up, just like you don't want to get too low in preseason games. He was going against second and third level players here. So we'll see how this translates to the regular season when he's given the opportunity. But you want to see progression. You want to see a next step from a rookie season to the next, second year. And I like the way he's looked in terms of his body, his physique. He put on some good weight. And again, he's got that quickness and he's got the length to be able to be effective pass rusher off the edge. So, if Robert Quinn is ineffective this season, like it was last season, I would have no hesitation in putting Gibson in there and seeing what he can do.
Well, and what I like too is that with Jeremiah Atoshu and with Gibson, it will give an opportunity to rest Quinn so he's fresher in games. There's no reason why he should be out there on first down, in my opinion. Quinn, if it maybe make him like that designated pass rusher that we saw the Colts do with who was it, Robert Mathis, towards the end of his career, and just bring him out on third downs and go get the quarterback and keep him fresh and keep him going, and maybe even give Khalil Mack some more rest as he gets up in age and you want him 100%. Does that make sense at all?
The only thing with me is right now, I don't know if Quinn has a quicker first step than Gibson, to be honest with you. I mean, I know he's known for his quick first step, but I mean, coming off of last season, based off of last season's tape, the way Gibson's playing right now, again, I'm gonna cool my jets here. I know it's only a preseason, but man, I'm telling you, his first step quickness off that line of scrimmage, and again, combined with that length and that size and the speed, he's very impressive right now for me. He caught my attention, so we'll see what happens. But Robert Quinn for me has got to prove it, man. I mean, he can't just be going off his laurels anymore. He's had those multi double-digit sack seasons, but man, he's gonna have to come and prove it to me this year. Because I don't know, because Gibson right now is charging. I'm a big fan of a Tuchu, so it's there's some competition now. It's not James Waters or whoever, what was that guy from Notre Dame, the big defensive lineman? I forgot his name right now, but Aaron Lynch. It's not Aaron Lynch, coming off the edge anymore. It's, we got some young guys here. Tuchu, I think, is a 4 or 5 year veteran, but Gibson's coming on strong. And I'm telling you, if Robert Quinn is not up to par like it was last year, I would not hesitate to put in Gibson or the other kid.
You said earlier that Joel Iyiegbuniwe had his best game, and here's one of those plays that.
Yep, this is him dropping back in coverage. This is what he gives you in terms of his athletic ability. Again, we're talking about a guy that's going to be able to read and react, sees that tight end sneaking out, stays in phase with them step by step. The only negative is if he better times that jump, he could get an interception there. So he kind of just doesn't do a good job of timing that jump. But again, reads, reacts, recognizes what the offense is doing, sees that tight end sneaking out, and then just stays in phase with him because he's athletic enough to, with the foot speed, to be able to get there, and then just turns back, locates the football, which a lot of players have troubles with in coverage, is locating that football. Does a good job and just bats it away. Like I said, the only negative I gave him on this play was I thought he could have probably intercepted it, but that's just me maybe being a harsh grader.
You are harsh, man. I've said that about you many times. All right.
But see, this is things that I see with Iggy. Like I'm saying, like, this is some of the best football that I've seen him play. Mm-hmm. And again, you could tell he was playing for his roster spot. And at least watching the film, watching the game live, and then watching it again, Iggy was on a mission to make this team. And he knew his spot was in jeopardy. Went out there, like I said, read and reacted well, filled with physicality as a run, and his run fits, does a nice job of going back there in coverage as well, making some plays. There were a couple of times where he took some bad angles to the football, which is something he's got to clean up. But these are some of the things that the positives that I saw with him in his play in this past game.
All right. Well, we go now to late in the first half, and thankfully the Bears got the ball back to Justin Fields so he can operate the 2-minute offense. And this is one of the couple of plays we'll look at from that sequence.
Right. So again, with Fields, what I want to see is his progression in the pocket, right? I want to see him making plays. So again, we see a receiver come in motion. We see the defender follow him. So he knows he's got one-on-one coverage with man-to-man coverage. He likes his tight ends in the slot, whether it's Jesse James or in this case was Jasper Horsted. Stands in the pocket, right? He's got a nice little opening there. Doesn't just tuck it and run, because he could probably done that and gotten the first down. Feels the pressure from the outside. But he's the guy that, when his knock was, he can't make plays in the pocket. No, this kid can make plays in the pocket. Stood there, threw a catchable football to Horsted, where he's able to go up there and try and make a catch on the ball, and draws the PI on the defender there. So, if there's other quarterbacks, I'm not going to name names here, that ball would have been sailing out of bounds. That ball would have been nowhere near the receiver, or that ball could have been picked off by a defender. But Fields gets back there, drops it nicely into an area where the tight end can go and try and make a play on a football, and he draws a pass interference penalty.
And big play in that that 2-minute drive.
That's
all right.
Yep.
So the play that we've all been talking about, right?
Right.
The touchdown pass. Here it is from what angle? And all 22.
Hey, look what Aldo found and then the little vault there. So the first thing, obviously, you take a look at is the both offensive linemen getting beaten badly, right? Fields is back there. I love his play clock, his pocket presence. The kid, for a young guy, has it. You can just he knows when it's time to leave, when it's time to get away. It doesn't just stand there at the last minute. Now, the other thing I love about him is look at all that green grass there, Aldo. This guy runs a 4.40. He can just easily tuck it and probably even get the first down easily. Yeah. But what Fields does is when he leaves the pocket, he doesn't look to run. He looks downfield to see if he can find a receiver and make a play. That's the thing I love about him as well. Lamar Jackson, great player, but his initial instinct is tuck the ball and go off with it. It's not to look downfield and find a receiver. But what the Fields does here is breaks contain, gets onto the open field. Now defenders who are looking at him he's going to start drawing some defenders at him. And now what he does, though, is even better, is he looks and he sees that the defender has his back towards him. The defender has no idea where the football is coming at. So he places, that ball placement is to the outside, where if Horst doesn't catch it, that's an incomplete ball out of bounds. Right. That's what I love about this play. That's the kind of stuff that you see on this tape. That's the kind of stuff I saw at Ohio State with this kid. And just that's one of the reasons why I have just this hard conviction with this kid. I think this kid has a chance to be a superstar player. But again, pocket presence, play clock, feels the pressure coming on, has a green, grass he can run there. But what he does, he just looks downfield, surveys, identifies the defender with his back towards him. So the defender has no idea where the football is going to be at. And then the ball placement places it to the spot where it's either out of bounds or it's a catch by his player, the tight end, Jasper Horsett.
It's an amazing play, and one that got national attention, and rightfully so. I mean, this is the play from a special football player, and I can't wait till he's doing it against number one defenses in the regular season play. Really outstanding stuff.
This is where I say yes. Is he ready to be a starter right now? He might not be ready. Maybe he's about 85%, 90%, at the highest there in terms of preparedness to be a starting quarterback right now. But he gives you plays like this, right? And in a football game, if you have a good defense and in a sound running game, you can keep games close, and you can go ahead and he can make a play like this. That's a touchdown. That could be a momentum swing, momentum changer. And next thing you know, you go from losing a game to possibly winning a football game. And this is why, especially with the offensive line they have right now, you need a guy that can do this, that can create this. Now, if he looks downfield and he sees nothing open, he has no problem tucking and running and getting a first down. That extends drives. We talk about those kind of plays are just backbreakers for the defensive lineman, for the defense unit as a whole. So, this is where the areas where I think Fields can help this Bears offense and kind of elevate it. It's just a matter of where, when they feel comfortable putting him in there. And I think primarily what they're worried about is him missing, whether it's a blitz like we saw with the Buffalo Bills game or possibly even, misreading coverages or whatnot, and then having a bad start and having that avalanche down towards him and kind of, ruining his confidence. But I'm telling you, this kid is a cool cat. He's a very confident player. He doesn't get rattled. He could be throwing 4 touchdowns in a game, or he could be throwing 4 picks, and you'll see he's got the same demeanor. He's not a guy that's going to change, right? So I think he could handle that. That's why, for me, right now, it's I know it's only 3 preseason games and 2 or 3 practices that I've seen, but for me, I think Fields gives them the best chance to win now.
Here's another play from Fields. Let me see. Hold on a second. Let me go back to when this was. This was in the first quarter. He looks deep on this play, but ends up dumping it, and perhaps dumping it a little too late. Walk us through this play.
This is the Scooter Harrington throw.
Yeah.
This actually, for me, this is one play where, Matt Nagy might point to Fields and make this a teaching moment. So if you here, this is a nice angle right here. Take a look. He looks at the horse right there real quick. And I think he gives up on that guy really too fast right now. And he looks like he was predetermined to look off the defender and then go back to Scooter Harrington here. Does a nice job of throwing it low and away so that the defender is away from the football and he's not going to blow up Harrington. Harrington drops the football. But if you go back to the previous angle, if you can't, Aldo, if he stays with Jasper Horsted gets open. This is versus zone coverage, and he gets there, and he could probably pick up a first down if he hits him in stride there. So that's one negative play that I found on tape for him there. So for me, I think he gave up on that play too quickly. Maybe predetermined he was going to go to Harrington because he liked the that type of that stick route versus that zone coverage that they're playing there with the Titans. But I think if he sticks with Horsted there, he gets possibly a first down.
One of the knocks on Fields from those few critics that he has is that he tends to hold on to the ball too long. Do you think this is an example of that?
No, for me, this is like I said, primarily just quitting on a route real quick and kind of maybe predetermining where you're going to go with the football because he saw the defense, you read the defense, saw the zone, and like that, you want to get rid of the football real quick. So I just think if he had stayed there because it's not like he's getting a lot of the critics who say he holds on to the football is because he gets hit with by a defender or the route closes up on him and the window is gone. But this is more so the window was open. I think he just missed the guy or maybe gave up on a route real quick, and just went with maybe a predetermined decision that he had made as he saw the defense pre-snap. So these are things that he's going to learn. This is a teaching moment for Nagy, DeFilippo, and the Bears coaching staff to say, hey, look at this guy. This guy, I think you give up on him real quick. I mean, he gave a courtesy glance there to 87. I think more so just to kind of move the defenders there. But it looked like he was going to go to Scooter Harrington because he kind of gave up on that play really quick, in my opinion.
This is an out pattern pass to Rodney Adams.
Yep. These are the type of throws, although that I look for arm strength and I look for accuracy. He is on the what we call the boundary side of the hash marks, right? He's the far left side, if you will.
Right.
And this is a nice throw, line drive with some touch to Adams for a first down. These are NFL type throws that when I'm scouting players, particularly quarterbacks, these are throws I want to see them make on a consistent basis with ease, if you will, with not having to put a full body effort into the throw. Now, unfortunately, Adams doesn't get both feet into inbounds here. I think that play was challenged and it was overturned. But here, just a nice, quick, easy throw, flips it out there. So we know he's got the arm strength. We know he's got the touch to make these type of NFL throws. These are the throws that the scouts really look at quarterbacks and seeing how the ball placement, how the ball comes out there, and is it a catchable football? And all of them on this particular play, Fields does well. Unfortunately, Adams doesn't get both feet in bounds.
Danny, now that you've seen Fields you've seen tons of Ohio State tape of his, but now that you've seen him in a Bears uniform, what kind of who would you compare him to? Who's his comp? Because I look at him and I see like an angelic figure. He's so light on his feet. He's so cool. He's so calm.
He's got wings. He's got wings on.
Almost. He's growing wings as we scout him. So I mean, can you think of a quarterback that is like Justin Fields or that Justin Fields is going to become like?
Honestly, what he reminds me of is Russell Wilson. That's who I look at when I see him. A bigger Russell Wilson. He's got the athletic ability to go and use his feet to his advantage. He's got the arm strength and the touch and the ball placement to be able to attack defenses downfield. Now, it just the thing is, Russell Wilson came into the NFL already playing in a pro style system at North Carolina State, so he already had those concepts down. So this is going to be some of the stuff here for Fields is going to be different. But what they did with Russell Wilson, and this is what I would advise the Bears to do, is build a solid defense, which we all think they have, and a rushing attack that can complement him and not put all the pressure on Fields. Let the run game and then sprinkle in some of these plays that we see with Fields here, these throws that he's able to make downfield. We talked about this downfield accuracy, being able to throw a touch, feather the ball over the second and third levels of a defense, plays like that. Once in a while, go ahead and if you establish a running attack, you can use the play action to go and suck up those defenders. And then you can have now, theoretically, you have the speed now with Marquise Goodwin, Demir Bird, guys like that can get downfield and make plays here for you down, with big plays. So hopefully that's the trend they're heading for, what the Bears are going to do. But again, it all gets back to that foundation, that offensive line. If the offensive line, especially the interior guys who we are kind of, labeling as solid guys, if they are getting blown 3, 4, 5 yards off the football, there's no way you're going to establish a successful running game. And then obviously we know Matt Nagy, the play caller, gets a little anxious, and next thing you know, he's throwing the football all over the field. So the one thing with Fields, I think his athletic ability, his touch, his ability to get downfield accurately with that ball placement, if you get a running attack to go with him, that's going to be a lethal combination, I think, in my opinion.
On the Dan and Aldo Bear Their Soul show, I had a package of clips from the national media, them debating who should be the starter for game 1 for the Bears, Andy Dalton or Justin Fields. And I want to get your thoughts on this right now. One of the great questions that came up during those debates is, who gives you the best chance to win a football game against the Rams? Is it the veteran Andy Dalton, or is it the athletic rookie Justin Fields? Your thoughts?
For me, it's Fields, and it's not because Fields, is head and shoulders above Dalton in terms of being able to process quickly in the pocket and all that stuff. But it's physically, he's a better quarterback. Athletically, he's a better quarterback. We've seen with these plays when the offensive line, when that blocking breaks down, whether and in pass blocking, he's got the ability to make things happen with his feet. Once he breaks containment, defenders start sucking up. They have to respect that. They have to come up and try and, because he can tuck it and run. He's got that 4.4 speeds. He's athletic enough to be able to, get first down with his legs. They have to respect that. They have to come up. And the thing with Fields is, we touched on that earlier, that touchdown to Jasper Horsted. Mm-hmm. He will look to find receivers downfield. So he knows that defenders, once they see him break containment, they come up, they attack, and now he's got an opportunity to go out and make plays downfield. He's not just going to tuck it and run. He's a guy that's going to be able to get the ball downfield. We saw his accuracy. We saw his ability to get the ball, his ball placement into an area with only his receivers can make the catch. That's where I think he would help. If that was Andy Dalton in that pocket on that play, he'd probably be sandwiched by the ends there that are walking both the tackles back into the quarterback. So, definitely I think because of that athletic ability, his ability to create once he breaks contain, that's why I think he gives him a better chance, especially against a team like the Rams, where Aaron Donald and you have Leonard Floyd and some of the other guys coming off the edge there. So that's where I think his ability could come into effect there and be a positive for the Bears. Because right now Andy Dalton's he's just a lame duck back there. You're gonna have to block for him, and you have to maintain your block. So what from Jermaine Ifedi and Jason Peters so far have you seen that makes you confident that they're going to maintain those blocks and keep defenders off of Andy Dalton? I don't see it, especially now you got Aaron Donald, terrorizing the middle of that offensive line as well. So, I don't know why he wants to go with this. And maybe because he made his promise to Andy Dalton, he doesn't want to break his promise, and that might affect him down the road in terms of players trusting him. And then we know how it all works, right? It's all NFL is a relationship business. You break your trust to this player, get to his agent gets to other players, and blah blah blah, and it works out and so on and so forth downfield. So. Maybe he'll give Dalton a couple of starts and just say, hey, we gave you a shot, but we're gonna go with the kid here. So
that's, I think, exactly what it is. It's all about relationships and not breaking promises, because then you'll get, they already got egg in their face with the whole Mike Lennon thing. And so They're trying to avoid, perhaps that's what's going on here. They're trying to avoid more egg on their face. We have so much more to talk about. So why don't we do this again next week? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. And so what I want to do next week, in anticipation for week 1, I am going to pick the plays for you. I'll send them to you in plenty of time for you to take a look at them. But I want to pick some plays from the LA Rams for you to look at and to scare the hell out of us when you evaluate the play of Aaron Donald. I want to look at some of the preseason stuff that some of the Rams standouts may have done. I haven't really studied their preseason, but if Stafford was in there, I want to see what he looked like and so forth. So I'll pick a handful of Rams plays. Then I'd also like for you to take a look at some tape I'll pull of Brashard Perriman. He has been lambasted because everybody fell in love with Rodney Adams. And so the pickup of Brashard Perriman has been lambasted. I don't think that he should be lambasted. Yes, he's a journeyman. Yes, he's never really lived up to the first round potential. Mm-hmm. But the guy is lightning fast. the guy can still catch the ball. He doesn't have great hands, but he can still make some plays. So I'll pick some tape of Brashard Perriman, a couple of other things, and we'll discuss that next week. What do you think?
Just the one thing with Brashard Perriman, and I wasn't, that kind of was a head scratcher for me as well. I wasn't sure, how much of an upgrade he is over, say, Rodney Adams. I understand Adams is just a guy that's trying to make a back end of a roster, or Perriman was a first round pick. But you just said something that if you're scouting a receiver and you say he doesn't have good hands, that's not a receiver you want on your roster. So that's the thing, is it comes to me as like, I think Perriman had one good season. I believe it was, I want to say with the was it with the Lions or with the Buccaneers? I forgot which season he had. He had a solid year, but he hasn't lived up to expectation. I mean, he ran, I think it was a 4.24 40 supposedly at the UFC Pro Day. UCF Pro Day. And, he's been, obviously his dad was a former NFL receiver. So he comes from, good NFL heritage, lineage. And, but again, he's a guy that's been around the league, and I just didn't see the uptake there. Now, if he gives you that vertical stretch ability, and he actually can hold on to the football, make catches, we'll see. But I think that it was a little bit of a head scratcher for me when they signed him. I know what they want to get out of him. They want to get another guy that goes downfield vertically. Again, now you have a quarterback, guys, that can get the ball downfield if you give him time, accurately with touch, and be able to hit those bucket throws. So maybe the Bears are going to start doing some of these stretch plays here, where they're just going to be running 4 verticals down the field and letting the quarterbacks hit them. See what happens. It
does seem that way. I mean, they have built so much speed on this team that it does seem that they're going to do a lot of that. I can't wait till next week. So I'm going to actually show you a Perriman play from last season when he was with the Jets, a touchdown pass. Oh, I hit the wrong button there. Let me cue it up right here. Take a look at this touchdown pass and evaluate it for us. This is Flacco at quarterback, deep drop. There's the hands.
There you go. It makes a nice catch there, extends away from his body, looks the ball in nicely over his shoulder. Let's take a look at his release here off the line. The kid, we talked about it. He's got that straight line speed, where he can run out, a 4.4, 4.3, 40. Let's see how he gets off the line of scrimmage here. It looks like the defender's impressed.
Right, he's impressed. Watch the move he does downfield to suck the safety in. Watch this. I think it's good veteran stuff.
Yep, a little stutter there, just to kind of slow up the safety there and just get by him. So, I mean, if he brings this type of ability, if he catches the ball with regular bases like that, that's something like we talked about earlier, giving them another deep threat. For me, that of all the guys they brought in, Damiere Byrd is a guy that I'm really excited about. He's a guy that gives you that stretchability downfield. Had being over 700 yards, almost 800 yards with 7 touchdowns with last year on the Patriots with a broken offense, with a broken Cam Newton at quarterback for half the season. So that's a guy that I think would bring some nice elements here of speed to this offense. Of course, and we're not looking for Mooney now. Darnell Mooney take his next step up in his progression in terms of being that deep threat downfield. How many times last year, guys, did we see Mooney, streaking wide open down the field, and either Trubisky or Nick Foles overthrew him or miss him entirely? So now you would think you have a guy with Dalton that can make those kind of throws. You have a guy with, well, at least I know you have a guy with Fields that can make those type of throws. So that's, I think, something interesting to see if Matt Nagy and the rest of the Bears coaching staff, bringing these fast guys and just trying to see if they can get some big plays down the field.
Danny, one of the things I'm most excited to see is Darnell Mooney in one of his press conferences during the preseason was talking about how he has started to add a little extra sauce on some of his pass routes. That little extra juke, that changing of speeds. And he is, he's talking, and other players are talking about him, and coaches are talking about him as if he is taking his game to that next level of wide receivers. It's now no longer, running a pass pattern and remembering what the depth is and remembering what the cut is and so forth. He's got all that down. Now it's him adding his creativity to it, and that excites the hell out of me because I love the receivers who do that stuff.
Right, because we already know he's got the physical attributes in terms of the speed, be able to get downfield. He's got some of the best hands on the football team. For a rookie, you rarely saw Darnell Mooney drop a pass last year. So, so at hands, he's got it, check. Speed's got it checked. Now, if he adds that added element of being a refined route runner, being able to create those separation with the windows downfield, getting out of phase with the cornerback, that's going to be even better now for, whether the quarterback's Dalton or Justin Fields, being able to target him and get him the football down the field, making those big chunk plays. So we'll see that there's this back and forth between him and Jalen Ramsey. Apparently, I think I don't know if it's on Twitter or whatnot, but we'll see what happens there.
What do you do you know anything about the Simba player that they picked up? The wide
Simba
receiver?
Webster is, more of like a diminutive receiver, a fast guy. I think he's been used primarily as a returner by the 49ers. So I assume he's just going to be back there as a returner. Probably going to go ahead and challenge Herbert for that kickoff return duties and also probably punt return as well. So we'll see what happens there. But interesting, another guy they brought in there with took a flyer on. So. But again, they're trying to cover up their special team deficiencies right now but once Tariq Cohen comes back, I think I don't expect Webster to unless he is lights out, man, these first couple of weeks. But once Cohen comes back and he's healthy, and I think he reclaims that punt return job that he had prior to his injury, I think that's when we'll probably see either Webster off the roster or possibly even relegated to inactive duty.
I can't wait for our next show. We're going to talk about Horsted. We're going to talk about some of the Rams players. We're going to talk about all the latest news that will happen during the week. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I want to let people know that they should head over to deepdishtees.com/barroom. That's actually written wrong. It's deepdishtees.com/barroom. That's where you can get cool hats like this one, cool t-shirts like that, all sorts of great merchandise, and really help us out here at the Barroom to pay for our light and electricity and so forth. So head on over to deepdishtees.com, and by the way, just look around the shop there. They got great stuff that's not Barroom related. So spend some money there and help out the business. So Danny, any final words, any final shout outs or anything like that?
No, I'm just excited, man. We're getting ready. Like I said, this is our last weekend, coming into the last weekend without NFL football. So I'm just ready to rock and roll. Start breaking out some more tapes, and let's see what happens here. Let's see what players take the growth. I mean, we talked about Gibson tonight. Talked a little bit about Iggy in terms of his ability, his physical prowess at the line of scrimmage. Let's see who's next. Is Mooney going to take that next step as a receiver from first year to second year? Is he are we going to ever solidify that tackle position, whether it's one of the young guys or it's one of these grizzled veterans here that are playing? So, just looking interested to break it down and see how the season plays out. And how many games is it going to be before Matt Nagy realizes that Justin Fields gives them the best chance to win on any given Sunday, Monday, or whatever Thursday night they're playing.
Mm-hmm. And for me personally, I am really looking forward to this season because of our relationship and the fact that I am learning things about the game of football that I didn't know or had forgotten. It's just good to get refreshers on things, and looking at the tape through your eyes is exciting for me. I know that me personally, and I bet a lot of our loyal viewers of this show are going to change from week to week to week as we learn more about what is going on. And it's always fun to disagree with Danny too. So once in a while we are, right?
Well, I mean, I did win a bet, Aldo. When are you going to pay up that bet we made?
Which one is that?
That Ryan Nall wasn't going to make the 53-man roster.
Oh, that's right. I did say.
Yeah.
What did I owe you, by the way?
I don't know. I think it was dinner and something.
All right. Dinner is on me. Dinner is on me. Danny, 53. No, yeah. Another bet I lose. All right, everybody. Please let your friends know about Bare Truth. I'm trying to think of what we have next on the docket. I think our next show is on Sunday morning, the Barfly Tailgate show. So those guys will go over the 53-man roster and scream and yell and get you ready for that opener against the Rams. And who knows what else. They'll probably have a great guest too. So in any case, make sure you look at the Barroom Network's inventory of shows. We have 4 shows just today. So if you love football and if you like it from a strategic standpoint, then this is the show, and Greg Gabriel's show from earlier today. So with that, I will say goodbye. Thank you, Danny, for everything. And goodbye, all of you watching.
Good night.